Hey, this is Marcus Washington, MTC Media. Look, the ACC is going to learn a lot when the committee reveals where everyone is as we're getting closer and closer to the college football playoff. And for the ACC, you want to try to get two teams in. There's no doubt about it. Miami losing on Saturday, this Syracuse, one of the more exciting games. If you watch my ACC, or if you not watched, if you read my ACC notebook, I had done a feature on that Syracuse Miami game, and you knew this could happen. Just based on how Syracuse had played earlier in the season, yes, they did have a couple of hiccups, but based on how they played earlier in the season, you knew they could make their season by beating Miami, and they had the firepower to beat Miami. They could turn this game into a shootout and defeat them, and they did that. They turned the game into a shootout, and they beat them that way. So now for the ACC, because everyone wants to have multiple teams in, I don't think that the Big 12 has an opportunity to get multiple teams in. You know that the SEC will, and you know that the Big 10 will. Notre Dame, I would guess, solidified their spot when they beat USC. So they're going to be in it. Then obviously you have a group of five that's going to be in also. So for the ACC, this is going to be a skittish. It's going to be a skittish time for them, especially if Clemson wins, because there is a real possibility, depending on where everyone is tonight, there's a real possibility that the ACC will end up getting in one team. And I know fans around the country who aren't in the what is considered the ACC area, or what used to be the ACC area, are going to say, "Well, it's the ACC. They're terrible. Why would they get multiple teams in?" But coming into probably last 2 weeks, Miami and SMU looked like they had a great chance of both getting in, and then Clemson started playing better, but Clemson had lost to South Carolina. So again, for the football portion of the ACC, I think the hope was to have multiple teams in, and we won't know until tonight if there is a scenario where SMU and Miami can get in. Is there a scenario where Clemson and SMU can get in? I mean, for SMU, I would not leave anything to this committee. I really would not leave anything to this committee. I would want to take care of business in the ACC title game, because when you start getting down of what do you do with Alabama, some people want to try to sneak in South Carolina. And there's just teams around the country that people are trying to jam in and saying, well, what about? And since there is some sort of subjectivity to the committee, which I don't have as much as a problem with as some people do, simply because this can't be like a professional sport because of the number of teams that are considered Division One. So you can't do that. It's even hard to measure based on conference, because a lot of the conferences don't play round robins anymore. So just saying, and I know the SEC loves to say this, well, you're playing the SEC. Well, we got to see what your SEC schedule looks like. You play in the Big Ten. Got to see what your Big Ten schedule looks like, because Indiana got to avoid a lot of the Big Ten powerhouses. So don't tell me they play in the Big Ten when really, truly, the only good conference team that they played was Ohio State. So, they can't get credit for all these teams in the Big Ten that they didn't even play. This is why I always say the whole idea of Notre Dame joining a conference for football, it's why. Conferences aren't round robins anymore. You're not doing that, and basically it's going to be on the luck of the schedule of that year anyway. So why do you need to join a conference? If it was a conference that had 17s, 18s, 9 teams in it, and everyone plays a round robin, that's a little bit different. It's not. Notre Dame's schedule is ranked higher than Indiana's. So why? And so that the reason I bring that up is when you get back to SMU, SMU has played one team when they were ranked, and that was Pitt. They did not play another team when they were ranked. Obviously, the one loss came to BYU in a weird 18-15 game, which seems to be a generation ago. I mean, that thing seems to be 5 years ago when that game took place. Um, but there are scenarios uh, for the ACC to get in multiple teams based on what we're going to see tonight. And for Miami, if you're a Miami fan, I know Mario Cristobal has gotten destroyed over on Sunday and Monday. He was getting destroyed this morning still for some of the decisions that he made. But it's funny how this Miami thing has happened. I mean, they were in every sentence until that Georgia Tech loss. And it's like people took that Georgia Tech loss and just hung on to it. And next thing you know, Miami was kind of like out of sight, out of mind, even though it was their one loss. And we didn't necessarily treat other teams that way. And so if I'm the ACC, and I know schedules are made out so far in advance, but it's going to be very important for the ACC. And I know I shouldn't even be talking this way because, in another 3 years, we could have another massive conference realignment. Who knows? But there is a premium on the ACC and what their out-of-conference schedule looks like. And I know everyone's going to say the SEC gets a built-in bye week with the way they do their scheduling, and they do. But man, this college football playoff, the way it's been designed, is basically the SEC Big Ten Invitational, and the spots that'll be left will be based on how strong their conferences are, because they're the two conferences who get the benefit of the doubt. And so for the ACC, it almost makes you want to look at your schedule and put pressure on it. If you're one of these teams who expect or want to have the chance to make the college football playoffs, but we will learn a lot more tonight. It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media.